Hallo alle! Today we are going to have our final lesson on the dative case. And in this lesson, we're going to look at verbs that always take the dative case. So Dative Verben is what we'll be taking a look at. As a reminder, the dative case is used in three situations. In a previous lesson, we looked at the dative case being used with an indirect object. In our last lesson, we looked at the dative case when we're dealing with dative prepositions. And in this lesson, we're going to be looking at dative verbs. Okay, and this is the final situation that uses the dative case. You should still have all of these charts and all of these notes, as I've said before. If you do not have them close to hand, pause the video, find them, or pause the video and take new notes on all of these charts that you're going to see here. So the indefinite and definite articles in the nominative, accusative, and dative. Reminder that the definite articles are our ways to say the. So in the nominative, der, die, das, die. In the accusative, den, die, das, die. In the dative, these newer forms, dem, der, dem, den. And our indefinite articles are a way to say a or an. So in the nominative, ein, eine, meine. In the accusative, einen, eine, ein, meine. And in the dative, einem, einer, einem, and meinen. So this is just a quick review of things that you need to have at hand. You need these very close by as we start working on how dative verbs work in a sentence. You're going to need all of these forms. You will also need all of the possessive pronouns in the German, in the dative case. So the mein, dein, sein, ihr, unser, euer, and ihr forms in the masculine, feminine, neuter, and plural. You should have this chart in your notes. If not, pause the video and copy this chart down. You will also need the dative personal pronouns reviewed in this chart with the nominative ich, du, er, sie, es, wir, ihr, sie, sie. In the accusative mich, dich, ihn, sie, es, uns, euch, sie, and sie. And in the dative, those newer forms mir, dir, ihm, ihr, ihm, uns, euch, ihnen, and ihnen. So find these notes on the personal pronouns as well. In our last lesson, we looked at the dative prepositions. These won't be a big part of the lesson on the dative verbs, but I did want to just do a quick review of them. Since the last time we worked on grammar, you should have these in your notes as well. The aus, außer, bei, mit, nach, seit, von, zu, and gegenüber. And as a reminder, there is that song to help you remember all of them except gegenüber. Aus, außer, bei, mit, nach, seit, von, zu, to remember those in order. The new piece in this lesson are the dative verbs. Some of these verbs might look familiar from German 1, but many of them are going to be new. So on Schoology, I did provide you with a blank note sheet to fill in all of these verbs. If you would like to pause the video now to fill those in, if you were unable to print the chart, you might just take these down then into your notes. So the dative verbs that we're working on up to this point are antworten, to answer, danken, to thank, fehlen, to be missing, folgen, to follow, gefallen, to like, gehören, to belong to, glauben, to believe, gratulieren, to congratulate, helfen, to help, leid tun, to be sorry, passen, to fit, passieren, to happen or to occur, schmecken, to taste, stehen, to stand or to be, vertrauen, to trust, wehtun, to hurt. Not all of these will be used in this specific lesson. A lot of these are going to come up later this year in our German 2 curriculum, and even as we move on into Honors German 3 next year. But it was helpful in my mind for you to have these all together in one place. One other important note, There are more verbs in German that take the dative case. These are simply the most common ones that we would see in our curriculum here in the Carlisle area school district. Okay, so make sure you have all of those verbs down in your charts. Of those verbs, some of them have irregular forms. If you were able to print the paper, the handout from Schoology, you can flip that over or go to the second page that you printed. And I gave you a place to take down the irregular verb forms or take these down in your notes. Okay. Before we do that, I have a reminder we'd talk about in class which conjugated forms typically take the irregular. And if you said du and RCS, you would be correct. So helfen is irregular in the du and the RCS. Du hilfst, RCS hilft. With some examples here, ich helfe meiner Mutter. So you'll see that the very next thing after helfen has been changed to the dative case. In a question, hilfst du deinen Eltern, we still have our verb subject. The next thing in the sentence is the dative case. And mein Bruder hilft seiner Freundin. My brother helps his girlfriend. Helfen, followed by that dative element. The next irregular verb forms for tun are du tust and RCS tut. So es tut mir leid, I am sorry. Tut is dative, so followed by mir as our personal pronoun. Mein Fuß tut mir weh, wehtun, also with the weh at the end. To hurt, my foot hurts. Tut es dir leid, are you sorry? So we have those dative forms with each of those. And then gefallen should be maybe familiar from German 1. Es gefällt, and the Sie plural stays gefallen, not irregular. And maybe you remember seeing this in German 1. For example, der Film gefällt mir. I like the movie. Meine Brüder gefallen mir nicht. I don't like my brothers. Gefällt dir diese Farbe? Do you like this color? So you'll notice that gefallen is used a little differently in those examples. And then the reminder here that you saw in those examples is that the word following the dative verb takes the dative cases. In the situation of inverted word order, where maybe we have verb and then the subject, the dative case follows right behind that. So looking at a couple more examples or Beispiele. Ich antworte meiner Mutter. I answer my mother. Antworten is a dative verb, so we have that dative form, meiner Mutter. Glaubst du deinem Freund? Do you believe your friend? Glauben being a dative verb. Here I have the inverted word order because it's a question, so my dative element follows du, to believe, deinem Freund. Sie vertraut ihren Eltern. She trusts her parents. Vertrauen is a dative verb, followed by the plural form there, ihren Eltern. Wir folgen unserer Lehrerin. We follow our teacher. Folgen being a dative verb, followed by that dative element, unserer Lehrerin. Es tut mir sehr leid. I am very sorry. Tun being a dative verb, followed by that dative element, mir. Kannst du mir bitte helfen? Can you please help me? Helfen is a dative verb. Why is the mir here so far forward in the sentence? You're going to have to think back to your lesson on modal verbs for this one. The modal verb können, and here in the du form kannst, is tied directly to the main verb at the end. So we kind of pretend like helfen is right here because it works right here in the sentence. So our dative element is actually preceding helfen in the sentence, but that's because of the modal verb können. Kannst du mir bitte helfen? Das ist eine gute Frage, wenn du Hilfe brauchst. So that's a perfect question. If you do need help, schick mir eine E-Mail und ich werde dir bestimmt helfen. So send me an email and I will definitely help you. All right, so now you have some practice activities and exercises to do on Schoology working with the dative verbs. Tschüss für jetzt.